Welcome to this edition of Hindsight is Horrifying, the show where three mostly normal and somewhat cynical adults discuss life as members of the TV generation. Now here are your hosts, Darth Jada, Jason Mitchell, and Adam B.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, it's good to be back.
We are back as a three.
A threesome right here.
Yes, yes. See, I was trying.
I don't know.
I was trying to make it respectable, but we're not going to have that.
We're never going to leave that.
We're back, and with a Halloween episode.
It's Halloween. Well, we kind of informally kicked off Halloween. We're not as strict about like the Halloween announcements.
Well, this will be in the October-ish.
No, that's what I'm saying.
We're saving.
We're not making big announcements about it or making a big formal thing.
It's August.
It's
for us,
and we're about to get busy. But for you guys, it's Halloween this season.
Ooh, isn't it nice and cool outside?
Spooky.
Yes.
It got down to 75 today, and it was glorious.
The leaves are changing. I'm not sitting here wearing shorts.
I wore a sweater for 30 minutes this morning, and then it got too hot.
Oh, yeah, it'll get you.
Welcome to Georgia.
We are doing a movie that I love every terrible frame.
Do you? Do you really?
Michael Mann.
Yeah, this is a movie. Okay, I'll jump right into it. We're doing a movie, 1983 movie directed by Michael Mann called The Keep.
The Keep.
Which
it's just as boring as it sounds.
Really boring?
Well,
God, boring was.
I found the cinematography to be very intriguing.
This is a movie that has been described as a bad movie that the next day you sort of think about it, and then a week later or maybe a year later and you go, I kind of want to watch it again.
No, absolutely not. But maybe it's just because it hasn't been a week for me. I watched it 2 days ago, and I've got to interrupt myself with this thought. So you know how there are these popular memes on the internet where it's like, my kid doesn't know the word for this, so they made up this description for this thing. So like a little girl didn't know the word for thirsty, so she said water hungry. Well, this movie...
So she's German.
Yeah. Yes. I am Wasser hungry.
For several reasons, this movie made me think of that because it's foggy in this movie, and one little kid who didn't know the word for foggy called it being ashy outside. And I thought that was a great descriptor.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, wow, this is a
yeah.
very ashy movie.
This is a movie that's based on a book. It's actually... It is the first in a series of books.
It's based on John Carpenter's film, The Fog.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that.
Indiana Jones?
No.
Meets Johnny Sacco and his giant robot?
It's actually sort of a movie that kind of has a Highlander vibe.
It does.
To
the
it.
music, for sure.
No, you're wrong there.
Tangerine Dream?
No, the music is Tangerine Dream. That is very different from Michael Kamen.
I don't know. That's where I got the Highlander vibe, was through the music. I don't know. Okay.
It's very Miami
Agree
Vice,
to disagree.
Yeah. Well, isn't it amazing that this comes from the same person? Well, he didn't. Again, this is based on a book, so
he's a director.
He directed it.
Okay.
But the star of the movie, honestly, is Tangerine Dream. There are only two movies that I know of that Tangerine Dream did the soundtrack for. One is
only
The
two?
Keep. I think there's only two. Yeah.
I'm joking. I never even knew who they were until you just now mentioned.
You're too young to know who You have no business. You have no business knowing who Tangerine Dream
Formed
is.
in 1967. It's a German punk band or something.
It's
synthesizer.
German,
like
synth electronics.
Yeah.
It's in the same genre as like Popol Vuh and any movie that Werner Herzog did had the same sort of soundtrack because that was done by a different German techno electronic brand.
Yeah,
so
electronic.
To give some sense to this movie for those of us who had not and as of yet have not seen it, the synopsis of this fascinating film was WW2 German soldiers try to defend a Romanian mountain pass by establishing headquarters in an ancient fortress, despite warnings about a strange presence inside. Bum bum bum.
That's sort of it.
That's kind of it, but not really.
The plot in the finished movie does kind of follow the plot from the book. It's close. I think if they had managed to make the full 210, 220 minute movie that they shot.
How long is the movie?
It's like 97 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So you go from 210 to 97.
You're probably missing some pertinent info.
Well, they cut out, there's entire threads of plots that are cut completely, that they filmed, and that's the sad thing.
I can feel that in my bones with this movie, because I was just, and I think I was about a third of the way through the movie when I was just like, oh my God, I looked down for 2 seconds to scratch some notes, and now I'm totally lost. I have no idea what's going on now.
Yeah.
And the only real, aspect that I could cleave to, the only repetitive thing in this movie was what, gentlemen? I think I mentioned it. Wind whooshing. That they did the subtitle for that.
There's a reason
no less than 7 times.
Yeah, there's a reason why that even the sound design in the final cut, the studio meddled in the sound design and screwed that up too. Completely.
How do you screw up wind whooshing?
Because what happened is when they went from 210 minutes to 97 minutes, you had huge
continuity
errors.
Issues, yeah.
And so they would just sort of slap sounds in, because the music, actually, if you listen to the soundtrack, a lot of the musical pieces in it are much longer, and they would just cut and then splice 2 things together that actually had already been scored. And so they would put like a wind whooshing sound. The studio would just throw that in there as a way of
whooshing Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, as a way of masking the
horrible plot holes.
But it's such a tragedy, because you've got performances by some of the best actors.
You do.
Jürgen Prochnow is amazing.
I can't make fun of the actors. They all did a phenomenal job. It was a very well cast movie, despite how random the story is and how piecemeal it turned out to be because of all those changes. But all the actors did a fantastic job. You're right about that.
That's Jürgen right there.
Yeah,
the German.
Yeah,
the German army, not the SS.
Yeah, he's the exactly, and that in the book is such a big thing.
And the first thing they say was oddly funny. It's like, look, because they get to the pass and it's look, your new home. How do you like it? Not very well, sir. Why not? We should be in Russia. Said no one ever.
Well,
Colonel Klink.
Well,
no,
the Russian front.
Actually, because in the book that is a bigger thing, that Kemper, he feels a sense of guilt because he knows people that are in Russia, and and the people do. Look at the production. I'm sorry, but this movie, the atmosphere in this movie is so good.
Oh, it is. Yeah. But it has such strong suits, but they're not strong enough to save the changes that ruined it.
No, absolutely not. And
unfortunately,
and I'm curious to ask you guys this: did you find that about if you had just watched the first third and the power had gone off,
I would have been fine.
Would you have found it? Would your opinion be higher if you had just seen about the first third of the movie and then, oh crap, the power's off, I can't watch the rest? Because it's really the end of the movie where everything falls apart.
I found it engaging. I had to leave the movie for a short time to take some meetings, and I was looking forward to getting back to it.
Okay.
I enjoyed the entire opening sequence with the slow motion of the German trucks coming to this village, and you're like, what is about to happen?
Yeah.
Right? It built suspense for me.
Yeah. Atmosphere is what the movie has going for it.
See, if I had been watching this movie and the power had gone out the first third, I probably wouldn't have finished it. I would have been
fair.
like, oh well. And
see, I was alive during World War II. You weren't, so it's a little different. I remember.
He remembers going to the
keep. God, that maybe it's the nostalgia factor, as we discuss on this show so often, Mr. Brown. But it's just it didn't get intriguing enough for me in the first third. I mean, I understand the stakes insofar as they're ever explained, meaning like there's a mysterious presence. Oh, no one actually lives here, but it requires caretakers. And, don't touch the nickel crosses. Woo! It's like they almost set it up in a Scooby-Doo-esque kind of way, and I'm just like, oh, I don't really care. Like, I don't understand what the consequences are really going to be, other than something bad is going to happen. Like that's it.
That's because you're young. You've been ruined by Marvel movies.
You
have things just explained to you so easily now.
Wow.
No, the book itself, and it's weird. It's by F. Paul Wilson is the author who wrote. He actually wrote 2 series of books that eventually became one series.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of neat because there's the whole series that deals with this huge conflict between the forces of good and the forces of evil. Scott Glenn in this movie plays a character who I honestly, I know his name because I've read the books. Did you ever hear a name?
No, just a man with no name.
There was one name throughout, and it was the main guy's name. It started with a W. Like Verhoff or something like that.
That's what this character's name was.
No, Scott Glenn.
Oh, no, not specifically for him. I only recall hearing one name. Like, that's what I'm saying, is that I don't remember a bunch of character names being bandied about.
Kemper, and then there's
head of the SS.
The SS guy, who is played by Gabriel Byrne.
Yeah.
Once again, phenomenal cast.
Yeah.
That's the most glowing review I can give this movie, is that it was well cast and everybody did a fantastic job with their acting. But
very early Ian McKellen, too.
Yes.
Very old Ian McKellen.
Especially when you see him de-aged and you're just like, oh my God, it is 1983.
It's really, really young Ian McKellen.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah, he was 43.
The conflict in the series of books is this, there was this war before man was even alive between evil and good.
Look, it's Rip Torn.
And good had its champion. And that's the character that Scott Glenn plays, which ironically his fake name in the book is Glenn.
Oh,
which is weird.
So wait, was he the Skeletor-looking character, or is that the other
evil.
one?
No, that
okay.
That's the evil, and
I'll get the Gestapo, you ninnies.
Well, the whole thing with it is that it's so evil that in the books, Scott Glenn's character has to explain that I know the Nazis are evil, but you don't understand.
This is a whole new level of evil.
Yeah, this guy he literally is just using Nazis. Like
as pawns. Oh, they feel so used.
Yeah. Anyway. But so there's 2 series of books. There's that, this series, and there's another series called Repairman Jack, which is basically like a sort of Monster of the Week paranormally thing about a guy who he just fixes people's problems. And those eventually come together, and there's this huge, conflict. There's an end of the world thing, and then they have to save the world, blah, blah, blah. The series of books is weird, though, because no one can agree on the order of the books. So if you sit down and try to read them,
right,
you just sort of have to guess. They know the first one and the last one.
No copyright to help.
They're not even published in the right order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's literally a whole thing.
It's like when you saw Total Recall and the reels were rearranged.
I remember that. I'll never forget that. They wouldn't give me my money back.
Except apparently this is still an okay sequence, because does the story still get told properly regardless of the order?
It's sort of. That's why people can't agree on it, because it works the same. You get the same.
Is it a matter of timeline when you start, like with Star Wars, or like?
I could sort of see that being the case. As long as you start with this book and you finish with this book, everything else in between is kind of up to you.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Yes.
That's all you need to know.
But did you? And again, I'm curious. Did you ever catch the name of the bad guy?
Skeletor.
No. I tried to find him in the credits and everything. I couldn't do it.
I did not.
See, that's another weird thing, because his name is literally important in the book.
Do I need to look it up, or do you know?
No, it's Rassilon.
Rassilon.
Oh, I did hear that. I actually saw it written in the subtitles, though. I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
and I thought it was Massalor.
It's he when he's lying, he has his name spelt backwards.
Oh, okay. I'm not crazy.
And
That's good.
when he's being honest, his name is the other way around.
Massalor.
Yeah, so it's Rassilon, and yeah.
See, I'm not crazy. We're okay.
But there's a whole, and this actual sequence here where the soldiers first pull the nickel cross, which they don't ever even explain that they're not crosses.
No, they're not. First of all, because I was like, that's like a T with a hump in the middle of it.
It's the talisman, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
more of a talisman shape, but it still is. It's not even a proper like unk or a cross.
Right. It's supposed to be the hilt of a sword.
Okay.
But for some reason, when they made the movie, Scott Glenn's character in the end, when he fights the bad guy, doesn't even he has like a quarterstaff.
Oh, okay.
Which was the weirdest, because the book actually ends with this huge fight with,
there will only be one.
It's an extremely Highlander thing because he's immortal.
Right.
In the book, he doesn't die. At the end, after he's killed the bad guy, he becomes mortal. And so he can live with the girl, and he marries the girl.
Oh,
yeah,
that's what I was hoping.
Because he's got kind of a David Carradine vibe, the way they styled him in this movie, his hair, like everything about him. I was just like, is that David Carradine? I know it's not, but why does it look like him? Probably because you guys have, just impressed that in my subconscious.
That's sort of a Kill Bill David Carradine.
Yeah,
sort
with
of.
the slicked hair and everything. That's kind of what I was vibing on. But the stakes, it felt like, knowing nothing about this movie, I wasn't even aware that it was a book. The stakes felt like, if the bad guy gets the life force out of the past, then maybe he'll inherit it.
Yeah, it's totally screwed up. Because
but am I wildly off in that assumption based on just the picture that's painted by the movie?
The whole thing, the story of the book is that years ago, thousands of years ago, Glaken, who is Scott Glenn's character, and Rassilon fought. Glenn captured Rassilon, built the keep as a prison. And
because it's clearly there to keep something in, not let. Yeah.
And he spent thousands of years guarding this keep, and he's sort of gotten lazy, where he's literally just paying people now.
Got it.
To make sure that it stays safe, and he's just sort of given up on everything, and he's like in Portugal, I think, because he has to go when he finally realizes he has to go. He has to sneak from Portugal into occupied Europe,
right?
Okay,
which is a whole other part of the book. There's a whole section that they filmed, but they just didn't put it in the movie. You see little tiny snippets
couple
of him.
Checkpoints is all we caught.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Yeah, I felt lost throughout most of this movie, and now I'm starting to understand why. Like, when you drop those pieces of the puzzle, I'm like, okay.
It's very much like David Lynch's Dune. When people watched that movie, because the studio had hacked it to pieces so much, people hated everything about it, and they actually said, well, this Dune, who the hell, this is terrible. I never want to read this book. It's awful. And who's this David Lynch guy? He sucks. And it's like, it wasn't his fault.
Do you know how to make a movie, dude?
Yeah.
That is rough. And that happens too often in Hollywood, sadly enough, where too many cooks in the kitchen can really ruin a project. And that's definitely the case with this movie. So, I mean, you understand that the Gestapo were bad. And Sir Ian McKellen shows up later in the movie than you would expect.
Yeah. Well, because the whole tension in the movie is about soldiers are just slowly being killed. Yeah,
because what happens is like a second wave of soldiers comes in, of German soldiers.
SS, the Einsatzgruppen.
After, with the first group, 5 soldiers have inexplicably died, and they're blaming the villagers for that. And so they kill 3 villagers, but then they say, for every extra German soldier who dies, 5 more villagers will die, because they're just trying to pin it on somebody to make it make sense. But meanwhile, there's this mysterious language that's etched into the walls of the keep, and they think if they can get somebody to translate it, that'll be the puzzle piece that they need to figure out why the soldiers are dying.
The SS Sturmbannführer, played by Gabriel Byrne, is convinced that it's communist partisans.
Right.
Yes, he says partisans quite a bit.
Yeah, he's convinced, because that was a thing in
I know.
it's just in Romania.
It's not
at
a
the
word
time.
you hear bandied about these days.
So he is going to kill people in the village until the priest tells him, look, there's a person who can figure this out, but he's being sent to a concentration camp because he's Jewish. Go and get him, and you have to get his daughter too, because she's his caretaker.
Right.
But in the book, it's very clear, and I think they sort of make it clear in the movie that was a complete lie.
They did make that very clear.
Okay, they did say
he was making it all up.
Just to get him out of the... Yeah.
Well, Ian McKellen, when he said he was reading it, couldn't even read it. He said it was all a ruse, an elaborate ruse.
It's a ruse, you big dumb idiot.
It's an elaborate ruse.
But they acknowledge that, because he says it's a ruse, and he's like, I said what I had to say to get you here. So, he and that guy, what's that guy's name? It starts with an R as well.
The Oh, the Ian McKellen's character?
No, the
Priest?
Oh, the priest?
Yeah, the
oh,
priest and
Roddick or
I
somebody?
wrote it
I
down
can't
at some
remember.
point. It doesn't matter.
But he's an actor that I've seen everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Oh, everyone in this movie
Yeah,
has,
yeah.
even the guy in the very beginning, the caretaker. I mean, he was in Star Trek. He was in,
Wait,
you know,
he's
I
a
love his
caretaker and
voice.
he's not stuffed like a safari
Yeah,
animal
yeah,
with his
yeah.
mouth
yeah.
hanging open like in House on Haunted Hill.
But the weird thing in the book is that they cut out, or in the movie, they cut out this whole subplot where throughout the movie or throughout the book, the soldiers are dying. And they're
Mihai. That's his name.
okay.
So we were way off.
And the bodies are disappearing.
Yes.
And all the soldiers who are trapped in this keep are slowly going crazy because they just know tonight it might be me. And eventually,
Oh, is that what it is? I always
yeah.
thought it was kind of the foggy, whooshing wind that was sort of poisoning their minds. So,
No.
okay, once again,
no, they were using the fog as sort of a
just an ominous.
stand-in. But because they couldn't even decide while they were shooting the movie, they didn't settle on a creature until the end of the movie.
That much was kind of evident because it didn't. Yeah, they wound up with Skeletor. So it's just
It's a very he almost works in the beginning because you can't really see him, but then as you get a
the
better
more you
glimpse
see of him, the
it
less
just,
intimidating and
fails.
less
Yeah.
impressive he is. Like it, yeah.
And he's really supposed to just look like a person. I mean, he's really just a person, an evil, form or an evil being that has taken the form of a man.
Ominous synthesizer music. I love it. God bless the 80s.
But there's a whole subplot where Kemper goes looking, trying to find out what's going on, and he eventually finds this long tunnel where he hears like a scratching sound, and all of the bodies of the dead soldiers are sort of flopping around on the ground, digging a hole, and it's Rassilon digging down to where his talisman is. And it's
David Carradine. Sorry.
He's using them as tools.
Exactly. And it's the
figuratively and
creepiest fucking thing.
metaphorically.
In fact, in the book, actually, Jürgen Prochnow's character is killed. He's hanged, but he manages, because there's this thing keeping dead things alive a little bit, he actually ends up strangling Gabriel Byrne's character after he dies.
Okay.
And it's really, it's very creepy. And they just, they didn't have what they needed to do it.
No, it doesn't. No, because you can blame me for having Marvel syndrome all you want, but this movie just does not piece the story together enough for it to be satisfying. It doesn't. It's literally just, okay, Gandalf the Grey shows up. He interprets this Sanskrit type Romanian language, and now he has to defeat the bad guy and save the Germans from the light and the synthesizers. That's
he doesn't care at all in the book. I mean, saving the Germans is totally irrelevant to him.
Well, it becomes irrelevant to him rather quickly in the movie too, and that I felt like that part of the storyline lost its luster as well, because it felt like they built up the Sir Ian McKellen story so much, because it's like they lied to get him there.
Yeah.
His stakes were huge. He was going to die otherwise, and now he's stuck between a rock and a hard place in the keep, rescuing the very soldiers who were going to be the death of him to begin with. But then Rassilon grants him youth.
Yeah. Well, it's I'll make you young so you can do what I need, and in return, I promise I'll kill all these Nazis.
Yes, and that
Which
doesn't
he would
happen.
do, of course, but then kill everybody else when he got out.
Yeah,
that was
it doesn't
the
happen the way
downside.
he describes and promises.
Arguably, he wouldn't, because Rassilon he feeds on human suffering.
Oh, so he would just torture them.
The concentration camps were perfect for him.
Yeah.
He was going to. Glenn sort of assumed that was his plan, was that if he got out,
For him, that's like a spa weekend.
Yeah, this is the worst possible time to let this guy out.
Oh, God.
Because you have entire camps of human suffering.
Yeah.
So this guy will feed on it and
become more powerful than you
Yeah.
can possibly imagine.
I'd say there's plenty of suffering going on in the keep, especially once the poor daughter shows up. My God, because the sex goes from rapey to consensual awfully quickly in this movie.
that whole the whole
That was disturbing to watch, and I was not anticipating it.
They cut literally everything out except for the sex. The entire thread that led to that.
Yeah, what was her story? What was the daughter's?
They were dating. He asked father's permission if he could go out with her. They had dinner. Drinks.
There was a whole.
There was preamble. There was some smooth jazz.
There was months and months before he finally closed the deal. But
my God!
Boom! He walked up and closed it almost in a rapey way.
Yeah.
No. I'm not even talking about him. I'm talking about the soldier who actually raped her before.
The two soldiers did.
Because she goes to the mess hall to get plates for her and her father to get something to eat. And then when she's making her way down the hall, because the guys are kind of like pinching her and harassing her in the mess hall, and she's like, get away from me. And you think she's kind of holding her own. But then she's walking alone in a corridor, and they literally pull her aside and rape her in a hallway.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes after that, she's having sex with the spirit guy. So
Scotty
it's like,
Glenn.
Yeah, she's having sex with David Carradine 5 minutes later. So it's consensual at least, but it got so weird so quickly.
Yeah, because that's the first part where Rassilon is sort of trying to act like he, that's the bait and the bait and switch, because he kills the Nazis who were trying to rape her, and he actually
explodes their faces. Yeah,
he carries her back to her room and gives her back to her father, to Ian McKellen.
And lets her seek him out later.
Yeah.
He restores her virginity, too.
Oh, did I miss that, or are you joking?
I'm just making it up. He can heal.
Because that's a woman's worth, isn't it? Yeah. But, so it's really cringy and awkward. But she does sort of, how do they come back together? Because I know that Sir Ian McKellen sends off his daughter. He's like, listen, I have to stay and finish this perilous mission. You leave without me. You're my reason for living. Go off and find a nice man, have a life, go exist, go be you. And he sends her off. So I understand why he stays, but why is it? And she later even is like, oh yeah, I never left.
Well, the relationship between Ian McKellen's character and his daughter, it's very much, she has literally been caring for him night and day for years, because he's had this condition for a very long time.
And you know this from the books?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he feels this overwhelming sense of guilt, and he has begged her to leave him. I think he may have tried to kill himself even, just to free her from the obligation. Yeah. And so at first it's like this,
Has that guy ever been shot before?
Now, here's a quick question. Was one of the people they just executed the caretaker of the keep? Because I didn't see the character again.
I don't think so.
No, they cut him out completely. I think he's just gone.
Because I loved his voice.
Yeah. He's great.
Voice.
No, you're right. They set up like a side story for him in the beginning where he's got his sons and stuff in the village, and they've been there for years. So he obviously knows the most about the keep, can provide the most exposition. But he's literally just the guy in the beginning of the Scooby-Doo episode in this version going, oh, it's haunted. Stay away, gang. Like, that's all he serves.
They filmed a lot more with him because he was actually friends with the priest.
Oh, I'm sure they filmed it, but
what actually happens in the book and what they actually filmed but just cut out was that as the keep's manifesting this entity that enjoys human suffering, what happens is the people in the village start basically they start killing each other. They start tormenting each other.
Oh, it's almost like it. So it kind of infects the entire town.
And that the caretaker's sons kill him. In the book. Yeah. And
so I was going to read the books, and now, like, thanks to your guided tour, I'm not going to need to.
It's real. I mean, the book is excellent. And it's not a long book. I read it in one night.
It's shorter than the movie.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a long book at all.
Maybe it's worth a read then.
It is. Yeah, it is. And it's got like there's weird like he alludes to vampires being something that humans just based on this stuff.
What?
But we got it wrong because Glenn I don't even know if you noticed this. He doesn't cast a reflection.
Yes.
You saw that.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, because he took the mirror down and turned it around.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't pick that up.
And he lost his reflection because the forces of good picked him as their champion. The forces of evil picked Rassilon as their champion. They stole his image so that he could never be distracted from what he had to do. He could never, it was like you could never be vain.
He could never pull a Christian Bale from Psycho.
Not Psycho, but American Psycho.
American Psycho,
yeah.
sorry.
I was about to say, did we just slip into a different reality? Please don't.
American
Tony
Psycho.
Please don't do
Tony
that.
Perkins.
I've had a hell of a week.
Apparently. But yeah, so he doesn't have a reflection. Got it.
Yeah, but he gets it back at the end of the book because he's mortal again.
Now, who's the Greek god who can't leave the mirror because he's
Narcissus drowns because he sees his reflection in the water.
Narcissus.
Narcissistic.
Okay, it all makes sense now.
Jurgen Prochnow is, I'm telling you, it's like if Arnold Schwarzenegger was a really smart, sharp actor, he'd
I
be
was
Jurgen
just
Prochnow.
thinking
Well, they're
kind
both
of has-
Austrian.
But they do actually kind of look alike.
Yeah.
So I see what you're talking about there.
Such a fucking awesome. I mean, Das Boot.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say
Yeah.
Das Boot. There was one where he played like a religious, like Jesus or something like that.
In the Mouth of Madness. He played, it was sort of a, I know in that he played like, he was an author, but he was like a cult leader, and he was fucking evil in that one.
Yeah. Did you ever see Das Boot?
No.
Okay. Let's put a pin in that one.
Yeah, we should do
guess
that.
I have a new
You'll
assignment.
love it.
Yeah.
You won't be bored at all.
Super.
It's great. It's in German.
Awesome.
But they have subtitles though.
Oh,
so,
then I'll be fine. Yeah, so there, I don't know if we've passed the comment that I took time to write down. So the humans are kind of picking up what's happening a little bit in the keep in the movie, because they say they have an argument about like souls and where they belong.
Yeah.
Because it's Mihai, the priest, who's talking to Gandalf the Grey, which is what I'm going to call him.
Yeah, very good.
Because he says, where else would God have put the human soul? And Gandalf responds, in a desk.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, no,
what was
'cause-
that whole argument about?
But because he's saying, why would God waste the soul on something as flawed and crappy as a human body? Put it in a desk; it'll be better.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's bleak.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of internal debate between. There's the religious debate because you have the two friends. One's Orthodox Christian, the other one's Jewish, and
But they're friends anyway.
you also have the really what I think is the most interesting part is you have these two Germans, and you've got one German who recognizes that he's a soldier in the Third Reich, but he knows what they're doing is wrong.
Yes, to the point
That
where
was actually pretty common
Yeah.
because this is
Oh yes, you can share
Let's
some of your
reminisce.
remembrances.
reminisce. Now, I'll tell you, I wasn't actually alive during World War II, but I know people who were, and one of my professors at Penn State would always reminisce, Van Iversen to German army. And he would tell these stories.
Oh my God.
Oh,
when
yeah.
he was in the German army. And I would pull a friend. I was like, how could he be proud of that? But the German army and the Nazi SS were like two
They're very
entirely different. So they were conscripted normally to fight, and the SS would shoot them essentially if they did not fight. So there was an enormous hatred for the SS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the SS was the secret service that not only protected the leaders, but forced the soldiers to do what they did not want to do.
Yeah, the SS was such a political organization.
Oh, absolutely.
It was and it's interesting because making these SS in particular, these were Einsatzgruppen, who were they were the ones that the rest of the SS thought were crazy.
Yeah.
Like Einsatzgruppen, I mean, these are the ones who before the camps were established, these were the guys going around and just doing it the old-fashioned way, just lining people up and just gunning them down.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the worst of the worst. And so you've got this dynamic between a guy who wants to do his job. He's a soldier. In the book, he's a little bit more overweight and broken than Jurgen
As
Prochnow.
happens from book to movie quite often.
But it's sort of like he has his redemption because he does end up killing the guy. Whereas in the book, or in the movie, Jurgen Prochnow is shot by Gabriel Byrne. And then Gabriel Byrne is killed by Rassilon. The only thing I like about that is that I did like the little inclusion of him having the cross, and all of a sudden the SS guy is holding up a cross to protect him, and Rassilon just takes it and tosses it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So okay, now we've got Eva, and what is Sir Ian McKellen's name in this movie?
Gandalf.
Yeah, I see. I've got to go with Gandalf. I'm okay with it.
It's
You will not pass.
Well, I think this was his first American.
I would not be
Fly, you
surprised.
fool.
Pretty sure this was his first American movie.
I'm sure he's extraordinarily well established as a stage actor.
Oh,
in
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, in
England at
theater,
this time,
100%.
of course.
Kutza.
Mar-
Theodore Kutza.
That's right. Yeah, because Marie from our former SpongeBob episode actually got to meet Sir Ian McKellen many years ago when she was abroad and living in England for a little while. And apparently they had a kind of a cute interaction. I don't remember who was smoking, but at some point I think somebody bummed a cigarette off of the other, and Sir Ian McKellen was just like, "Oh, smoking's really bad for you." And, so that's a great anecdote that she's got, because I was just like, that people would pay money for an interaction like that.
Oh,
Of
absolutely,
course.
yeah.
He's amazing, but I've never seen him this young as I have in this movie, so that was cool to see.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he starts off old.
Yeah, he
you know,
goes in
yeah.
reverse, and then he gets he's big, and then he's not big, and the suit's too big.
Well, and like you have this whole thing where he's not evil. He's trying to beat the Nazis. So he's
just
good. He's just
It's just down to brass
Misguided.
tacks.
yeah, he's being
misguided.
exploited.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
exploited.
And in the book it even gets, more so where he almost kills his daughter because
Oh, wow.
because anything that's going to stop him from doing what he thinks is going to stop the Nazis, he won't have.
Oh, so it's not even about the youth, because Rassilon treats it as though like he can hold that hostage, saying,
No.
"Kill your daughter now, or I'm going to take the youth back from
Yeah.
you." And
he doesn't
he's-
he doesn't care about that. He cares about stopping the
Oh,
Holocaust.
see, that's pretty
Yeah,
noble at the
yeah.
end of the day.
and it's just it's a good motivation that Rassilon, and that's what he does. That's his game.
See, it's a silly observation, but right now, Sir Ian McKellen in the wheelchair and the hat, he looks like the uncle from Christmas Vacation. You couldn't hear a dump truck riding through a nitroglycerin plant. The one who smokes the cigars and sets the tree on fire.
Oh,
He has a funny name. It's like Hickey.
well,
isn't
I'm
it?
just gonna
yeah,
find out.
I know. Yeah, I know.
David
you mean.
Hickey,
Yeah.
I think his name is.
Let's find out. But that's who he looks like before they de-age him.
Because I remember One Crazy Summer is that same guy. I think I love him in that film.
Let's see.
And they do.
Richard Hickey.
I do like the fact that they de-aged him the old way, the old-fashioned way, by
With
just
makeup.
putting the old makeup on and
Yeah,
taking
they-
it off
they
again.
just wiped his face.
That was the way
Yeah.
to do it.
But the speaking of weird things, I have to share with the audience.
Oh dear.
This has been, and I'm literally putting a call out to anyone who's had anything weird happen to them. Because
Are we
is this a
talking about this on the
story?
show? Yeah,
Yeah.
something weird did happen.
this is the most bizarre sort of, I don't know if it's a Mandela effect or what.
I'm not sure because there's not enough time lapse, so I don't
don't know.
really know what the parameters strictly are. But tell the hindsighters what happened.
And bearing in mind that since this happened, I've managed to make contact with people who weird things are actually happening.
oh no.
No, seriously. So last Sunday, so about 3 days ago, wake up, get dressed. All my shirts that I usually wear in the wash. So I very specifically, I'm looking through, and I get an old shirt that is one that is still in good condition, and I very specifically remembered which it was. It was you've seen it. It's a blue, just a
You
plain
didn't
blue
even,
polo.
Yeah, that's all you told me, and I
Yeah,
was like,
you
"Oh
know,
yeah,
yeah.
I know what shirt
I've
that
worn it a
is."
million times,
Yes,
yeah.
I've seen you wear it quite a few times.
Go through the whole day, into the evening. It sounds so insane. I mean, literally, it sounds bonkers. Into the evening, go to get undressed, and literally startle myself when it's not that shirt that I take off.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, this is fucking weird. And I go downstairs and I ask Elaine, Elaine, so I put my pajamas on at this point. I said, what shirt was I wearing? And she's like, you were wearing, and she sort of looks,
Falters, yeah.
and she goes, well, wait a minute. You had a blue shirt on, but then you were wearing this green shirt that I own. But she goes, but you couldn't have been wearing that green shirt because you've only got one of those, and that one is in the wash with everything else.
Oh my god.
So I say, well, let's go upstairs. We go upstairs. I swear to you, okay, I am so honest and serious. The blue shirt is gone, and there are two green shirts.
You only have the one, and
Someone
I know
explain this to me.
I know which green shirt you're talking about
Now,
too.
are you familiar with these green shirts? Or when is it-
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with the one.
Right.
There's
but there
just
was
the
two
one
of them.
green shirt, and it's like almost this.
It's got some stripes, like a little, not
Like,
stripes, but like a
it's
pattern.
kind of like his shirt is now there. Like it's a green shirt, but it's got like a lining that's almost that color of the shirt that you're wearing now. I know exactly what shirt you're talking about.
And the blue shirt that I have worn on this program a million times, we tore the house up trying to find the blue shirt. And it's literally as though that blue shirt has never existed.
Oh my God.
But here's the weird thing. In the 2 days since then, so
I'm going to try and find it in our pictures. That's what I'm going to do.
Please do.
I think I found one. I actually started looking for one.
I think you wore it recently.
I was actually talking to someone I know who said, well, I'll tell you something weird that happened to me just the other day. And I said, what's that? And he goes, I'm glad you told me this because I haven't told anyone about what happened to me the other day. He goes, I opened the door to my house, put the keys in. I turn around, keys are gone. And I go, oh, Jesus Christ, somebody stole my keys. So he's like, okay. He has one of these like, the pull things. Yeah. And the keys are usually on that, but he had taken them off, So he puts the pull thing down on the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Later that evening, he's passed by the pull thing like a few times. Okay. Later that evening, he takes the pull thingy, right, and he puts it in his pocket, goes about his business. Later on, he reaches in, pulls it out. On the pull thingy is his key ring with all the keys reattached. Last one is from somebody else who said, and this was about a week ago, this happened to him. His wallet goes missing. Again, that happens. But he's like, well, it's kind of weird because... No.
Is it that one? That one's a more recent one, I want to say.
That's more recent.
That's the wrong one.
Wallet goes missing. Long story short, he's in his workshop, opens up an old tool chest to find something. His wallet is sitting inside of his tool chest.
Oh, dear God. Mind freak?
Does he have children?
No, he's an old timer. Yeah. But here's the thing, and it's sort of like there's literally people on the internet now who are actually asking the question, is something going on? And if it hadn't happened to me, I'd say, you're crazy. But where's my shirt?
Yeah, where the hell is your shirt? And now I'm trying to find photographic evidence of this shirt that I clearly remember. So
find me. I will tell you, it's not on.
I think that's the same.
Is that it? I can't. That's the darker one.
It's the same one.
I went through our whole Instagram thing and I couldn't find it.
God.
But you know exactly which one I'm talking about.
It's a lighter blue than
it's
that
a
one.
lighter blue. Yeah.
Damn it. Oh,
the
trouble is I've gone through our whole Instagram and I see it twice where you have a pullover over it. So I can see the collar, but I can't see the shirt because I know which freaking shirt you're talking about. Wait a minute. That's the checkered one.
No, that's a button
different.
down. Yeah, this is a polo.
Yeah, I know. That's
I know, right?
This is going to bother me.
It's freaky.
And I'm seeing multiples of your other blue shirts that you have because you have multiple blues. You have one green.
Did it ever exist?
That's the question.
Yeah, that is the question.
That's the question. Well, okay, not to keep going down the Mandela rabbit hole, but here's another one that apparently is new. That Mandela people have been that Mandela effect people, and I'm not saying I believe in it. I'm just telling you what happened to me. Draw your own conclusions.
Do tell.
Okay, E.T.
Yes.
Into the movie.
Yep.
E.T.'s finger lights up and Elliot's all sad. E.T. says, I'll always be right here. Where does he point to?
Ooh, we're talking a long time. I don't quite remember. His heart?
That I just don't remember.
Points
I think
to his
his
heart?
Heart? Yeah. Nope. That's what I remember.
No, wait.
It's his head.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it's... Yeah, see, and I don't, it's not too convincing for me. But what I will say is
That's
that
another stripy one.
Yeah, that's a stripy one.
Yeah, where are all these stripy ones coming from? I know you have a lot of blue, but
that's
our whole Instagram account. Oh my god!
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna look at my personal photographs now. This is I'm upset.
So anyway, I just wanted to
keep talking.
So who knows? People are saying some weird stuff, and
it's like a hiccup in the Matrix or something's going on.
Yeah,
right.
Or I think as Scott Adams would say, history is written on demand, and so I don't know. Maybe two people asked the same question at the same time, and it produced conflicting answers.
I
don't know
because that's just oh my god, that's disturbing on so many different levels. But the thing is, I know precisely which shirt you're talking about. It's light blue. It's a polo. And like I said, I just scrolled past it on our Instagram account where you have a pullover over it.
Yeah.
So I can't prove the existence of the whole shirt, but I see the collar.
Well, we'll spend some time looking for it after the show.
I'm scrolling.
You are going to scroll, aren't
so
you?
let's see what happens. Well, I have so many photos, so it's going to take a while. So keep talking.
Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and what we're
Yes.
going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to skip
this
to the
shirt.
end of the movie.
Got it.
And we're going to wrap that up, and we're going to catch up on some other things. So we will be back in about 1 second. And we're back.
Yeah.
And Darth has a photograph. That will
Would
be,
you like me
Here,
to
I'll-
zoom past your face on this one because you're making a strange
Oh,
face?
No, it's
it's
fine.
cute. Go ahead.
All right, so
And we'll post it. That is the shirt.
that is the shirt. I
was
did
missing.
That's
it.
it.
I
Disappeared.
found it.
So now the question is, when I go home,
Will it?
will
be
it
there?
suddenly have returned? And what is the significance of that for the fate of our universe? Because at this point,
then Adam and I will disappear.
I know.
So
keep your eyes open.
And is it just me? Have you ever been looking for something and it's literally right in front of you and you can't see it?
Oh, plenty of
that
times.
frustrates me so much.
Yeah.
I'm like looking everywhere, and literally, I could almost. If it was a cobra, it would have bit me.
That
I hate that.
I was taught something about there's actually, it's called findology. There's actually an art of finding things. Here's the trick you do. Next time you're in your house and you're looking for something, get a flashlight.
Okay.
Even if it's broad ass day.
And shine it on things.
And because what happens is the flashlight, your eyes actually will start following it.
Cause you
and
to
you
focus.
won't do that. You won't look over it.
Right.
And you'll like look at the table, scan the table with the flashlight.
They use that to their advantage in scary movies a lot because that's how you'll suddenly like come across a bad guy or something in a dim room because
Yeah, it's all
you're
about tricking the attention. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of like findology and stuff, so to lighten the mood a little bit, so the Pickle Rick pop doll that exists at my house recently. Because
did you hit your clutch before you changed gear there?
yes,
Yeah.
it clunked hard. No, but as far as the findology, because I was like, I ran across him the other day because it was Josh's turn to hide him in our cleaning team.
People,
Oh yeah,
you need to
hide the pickle.
you're gonna need to
we
go.
play that game a lot at our house.
For viewers who are
To be
just
young
joining
again.
us.
I'm the reigning champion. So no, but seriously, so the pop doll of Pickle
Something to
Rick.
brag about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. We digress.
So the pop doll that we hide from each other in the house, he recently lost one of his limbs, and I was like, because he
where
has.
where did it get lost, and how did he find it?
Well, we
Did you-
don't know.
Oh, maybe
Really?
your GYN
No, seriously.
found
So,
it.
Isn't that just?
I was hoping you heard that. You heard
God.
that in post.
gross.
Anyway.
Ew. Anyway, clutch my non-existent pearls.
I wish
But-
Gabriel Byrne was here.
You would shoot me right.
shoot me in the face. God.
That is a very amusing joke.
Screw you guys.
I
Let's move
like
on.
that joke. It's very good. It's very
No,
naughty.
I'm not going to say anything now.
Go ahead.
I don't even know.
So you were playing hide the pickle and you lost
so
an arm.
Rick lost an arm.
Oh, okay.
So he
That
used to
doesn't make
have-
it better.
He used to have weapons in either hand, and that's what made it really interesting. No, but I came home and I found him on the desk, and I was like, when did he lose his arm? And Josh was like, I don't know. Did he always have 1.5 arms? I was like, no,
Okay.
he definitely had 2 arms. So that's
Okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
got around to the relevance of it.
Is it too much to say that the stuff that we just kind of smooth over?
How much literary assumption is involved in our own lives?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's
well,
a
think
horrifying
about it. I
thought.
mean, what are the things that your brain has to do just to keep you from going batshit crazy?
A lot.
A lot.
So many things.
A lot. You
Yes.
know.
Especially with things that we take for granted, like car travel.
Yeah. There-
Things that could easily kill you so quickly.
Well, I mean, somebody I read an author. There was a great phrase where he summed up his whole point. And he said, "Reality isn't what it used to be."
The
And-
places I go are never there.
You know. Well, how do you know they were?
Exactly.
Yeah. You know. It's,
Well, you said on a previous episode something that stuck with me to the point of like, oh, I know that I exist, but I can't prove.
solipsism.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
can't prove that anything else exists.
Yeah. So for
it-
me, I know that I exist, but I can't prove that you exist.
Right.
And I know I exist, but for
Do
you, as far as I know, I do.
Yeah. Maybe your life force is in a Romanian keep somewhere. We
Maybe.
don't know, Jason.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to the movie.
Well, we were just talking before the show about the Schrodinger saying that, consciousness has never been experienced in the plural. So therefore, it's only logical to assume it's singular. So all three of us are really the same person. And in fact,
that's a disturbing thought.
Every person is just the same person. Imagine if, though, it sounds crazy, but if that was actually a philosophy that caught on, wouldn't that kind of mean wars wouldn't happen anymore? Why
One would think.
You wouldn't want to kill yourself.
Why would you hurt yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty of people hurt themselves. That's already...
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
that's wishful thinking.
Destruction is just a part of our nature, unfortunately.
Well, but if you look at what's in the movie, you look at, could a Nazi ideology exist if they assumed that everybody was themselves? You really couldn't do that, because how can you view somebody as being beneath you if it's just you?
Because Rick and Morty proved this already.
It always comes back to Rick and Morty.
Of course it does. No,
Yes.
They actually do have an episode about that where everybody is supposedly equal on this perfect planet because they're all possessed by unity.
Unity, yeah.
And once unity is taken away from them, because she literally takes over their bodies, but then they start a race war amongst themselves because some of them have like certain tattoos and others don't, which means
The nipples,
that
the round nipples, and
Oh man.
I wasn't going to get to
Yeah.
talking about their nipple ring tattoos, but yeah, so they've got different rings and shapes, or they've got different shaped nipples, and so some of them consider themselves superior because of the shape of their nipples. So people will find a way to differentiate themselves from even themselves. It's just, I don't know why we do it. It's
Well, there was a South Park episode where like religion didn't exist, and they say science, damn
Yeah.
it, and my
Oh,
science
my
is better than,
science.
Yeah, my science is better than your science, and then big wars occurred because people have to war.
yeah,
I
people.
guess.
Yeah, it's
a compulsion.
It's the human
because-
condition.
Yeah, it is. It
and
is.
people don't want to hear that every religion is essentially the same thing. It's these rules that we made up to make sense of the world around us and the chaos
Well,
that doesn't make sense to
If you
us.
take religion away from people, they'll just invent religion, but they'll call it something else.
Yeah, I mean, we
exactly.
used to worship
Yeah.
the sun, and it's evolved into other things because the sun was the most powerful thing that we couldn't understand, and then we ventured out into the solar system. Like it,
Well, I mean, arguably a lot of political points of view in the 21st century. And if you think I'm talking about you
You're right.
you might be right, but you're wrong, because I'm also talking about the other people.
Right.
So
he's talking about himself,
Talking
so
about both.
ultimately it doesn't matter.
yeah, but there was a philosopher once who said that the problem with atheism is that religion was a leaky roof, and the atheists took the roof away, but they didn't replace it with anything.
Right.
And yeah, it's sort of like if you take religion away, people are just going to come up with something else.
No,
You know,
that's-
and if you actually, tying it back to the movie, a lot of Nazi ideology, a lot of why the Nazis were able to do what they did was they scrapped religion, but then they just replaced it
with the Fuhrer.
exactly
Something
Yeah.
takes its place. Yeah, like we're watching a show at my house called Raised by Wolves, and it's a futuristic show about how these two androids are raising children. And they're raising them to be atheists, but one of the children grows up empathetic despite these efforts, and he's sort of coming up with religion and empathy on his own. Like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
want to kill the animals. That's hurting them. And then when they die, they don't go anywhere, is what I learned from this other kid. And meanwhile, there's a religious group of people going around trying to find a new place to live, and they want to cultivate a new culture with their religion.
Right.
But now they're at war with the droids because the droids are atheists. So
Yeah.
it's just there's always going to be some sort of distinction and disruptive.
I have this
nature.
hope that at some point in the future,
Don't hope too much. Just want to
it
warn
will
you.
just way after we're all dead.
Oh, okay.
That
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
way is yeah.
All
I'm
right,
not.
cool.
I'm
Way
not.
after
yeah,
that shirt
yeah.
has been incinerated
Yeah.
and the universe has returned to normal.
Way in the future, I'm hoping that people sort of figure it out and they look back and they don't think we're complete clods. I'm the optimist in me thinks maybe people will look back and go, well, they really didn't have a lot to work with, and so they did the best they could, and it took a few thousand years for them to figure this shit out. But hey, we're what do we got to work with? We're making this shit up as we go along.
Yeah, and
know?
you're
It is.
absolutely right, because I for the life of me can't remember the name of the scientist that was quoted saying it, but they asked her what the first sign of civilization was, and she said a broken femur bone that was healed, because that takes weeks to
Margaret
heal.
Mead?
I think so, maybe. But she said something to the effect of like, it takes the broken femur weeks to heal, which means that somebody had to abound it to make it heal in the first place, and then stayed and protected that person and fed them and watered them. Because in nature, when you break your leg, you can't hunt, you die. That's
Did you tell this story before to us?
no.
I don't recall.
Then I must have heard it from the actual. I think it is Margaret.
Ooh.
Margaret Mead. Yeah.
No, but I just read that recently, and she said that was actually the first sign of civilization, was the empathy that it took for somebody to heal someone else and stay with them until they were completely healed.
If that's true, though, then apes have civilization, and so do whales.
Dolphins do too.
Dolphins do too. If that's true,
any
then
society that protects its others, like it.
then there's a
quite a
lot
few
of
of them do.
societies out there.
Well, I mean, it's
You
only
know?
been a recently acknowledged thing that dogs talk to each other. Dolphins talk to each other. The animals are talking to each other just the way we do. People love to think that there's such a vast difference between us and the animals that roam the earth. We're all animals.
Oh,
We're
of
different
course,
for
yeah.
sure, but
We're
It's-
special. We're special animals.
Well, it's
That's what we
the
tell ourselves.
yeah. That's when you get into the
So-
whole consciousness thing. It's
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
androids dream of electric sheep?
can chickens collapse wave functions?
No, they cannot.
We've fallen down a rabbit
Yeah.
hole so vast, I don't think.
No,
we'll
that's an
ever be able to
important
get out.
question. That's a very important question.
Yeah.
Because you can collapse a wave function. You can look at something that only probably exists, and
Yeah.
by observing it, collapse the wave function, and it becomes, an electron, for instance. Electrons, if you're not looking at them, they don't exist. They literally don't exist until you observe them. And the wave function of probability collapses, and now they exist in one spot. So the question is, can a chicken do that?
You have to wonder, like, it makes me think of, on a lighter note, it makes
Yeah.
me think of a sign I saw at a restaurant on vacation years ago where it said, "This sign is in Spanish when you're not looking."
How do you know it isn't?
Like the-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Prove that it's not.
Well, tonight, do this just as a thought experiment. Tonight, get up and get a midnight snack, right? Go into your kitchen. And when you open the refrigerator, just stop and look in the fridge and ask yourself if any of the stuff in the room behind you exists. Because no one's looking at it. No one's observing it.
So
So
existence is based upon observation.
it's just probability. The quantum universe is one that exists based on observation.
Where's Neil deGrasse Tyson when you need him? My God. Okay, so we've gotten to the end of the movie, and this movie is remarkably talk-throughable. If
The
this
talisman
conversation,
is on its way out.
yes,
Yeah.
David Carradine is disrupting Ian McKellen's sort of.
God, he's young.
He really
He's
is.
so young in this.
He looks great. He still has the aged eyes, like his, and some people just have that with their eyes where it's like their eyes age before the rest of them. Has anybody taken note of that with Ian McKellen? Because
I could see that. He has sort of pale eyes. That,
almost as if his eyelids are wrinkled, which is very strange for a younger man. But even in his 40s, he had wisdom in his eyes. That's what it is. That's why he's Gandalf.
Yeah.
But here comes the power struggle, where he's still young, and what's the bad guy again? Rassilon says, "I'm going to take your youth away unless you kill your daughter." Which, what was the benefit to Rassilon for the daughter dying? The suffering, like that.
Yeah.
What was the point of that?
He all Rassilon cares about is getting the talisman out of the keep,
So he can be free
Get me
so
again.
he
that-
can be free.
That
And at this point he has.
I'll slay both of you, you ninny.
Because they sort of show you that he's growing. Like you see him, there's different scenes where you
Yeah,
can
he
see
starts
muscles
out as like
start to grow on him.
and he starts
stuff.
out as almost
Yeah.
like a normal sized man, and I'm sure that was due to the complications of the studio
Yeah,
interference.
yeah.
But then he turns into a taller and larger and more muscular, defined monster.
Yeah.
So, this right here has to have been why Sir Ian McKellen, and this is before he was Sir. He wasn't knighted
Oh yeah.
yet. In
Oh
this
yeah. He
movie.
was just Ian McKellen.
He was just Ian McKellen. So I can see how he got cast as Gandalf the Grey from this speech.
Oh, absolutely.
Right here.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And like you said, Jason, the actors do such a phenomenal job in this movie. As him especially, he does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But he always does.
Well, and the it's so weird. too, because
Lasers.
the movie even because in the book has a happy ending in that Glenn he becomes mortal. He defeats Rassilon. He becomes mortal.
And he enters Death Race 2000.
He can get married and have kids, and it's very much Highlander before Highlander. It's Highlander 3 years before Highlander. That was 86.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's very, very Highlander. I mean, because it's literally, I defeated the bad guy. I got the power. I can have a normal life now. Yay. The movie, the way it was originally shot, actually had an even happier ending than the book. Because in the book, Ian McKellen's character dies. He has his redemption moment.
Right.
He's killed. They actually shot the ending where Scott Glenn lived, and so did Ian McKellen. Somehow, during the final conflict, I think it saved Ian McKellen.
So I saw him just sort of crumple, but he dies?
Yeah, he's dead
In the book.
movie.
Oh.
No, because you. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's an
He's just
interesting
sort of crumpled
interpretation.
on the
Yeah.
bridge. I wasn't sure that he had died, so it doesn't matter. So what you were saying is Scott.
Well,
Glenn.
they find him inside the keep.
Oh, okay.
Dead. In the book?
In the book, the book ends with basically all of these dead Germans, sort of doing this weird sort of zombie-ish thing.
Well, now there's a rave going on.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually supposed to, and this is another reason why the movie was such a clusterfuck. The special effects director died.
Oh.
And he was the special effects guy on 2001: A Space Odyssey. The whole ending of the movie was supposed to be when Glenn and Rassilon were sucked into the vortex.
Right.
Was supposed to be this whole 2001 trippy, weird, thing, only with them fighting.
Oh, see, he's still moving.
Okay,
Yeah,
so he's still
kind
alive.
of shaking. And
all right.
They never really out and out say
Well,
that he dies.
he doesn't just. That's what it was. It was he lives and he's also cured.
That's a real happy ending.
It was. And Michael Mann said, it actually has a happy ending. But
Am I bummed that I'm old again? Sure, but I'm cured. And cured from what? Did we specify that? What was his ailment?
Sclerodoma.
Yeah.
It's an
Some
autoimmune.
disease,
Autoimmune disorder.
Yeah.
It makes you very cold. And it's a rough way to go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I know when they were shooting this, Scott Hold Still, we're going to light the smoke on your back.
Yeah.
And now just walk slowly in there. It's like, it's burning me. Just keep
move
going.
slowly. It'll be more
It's
dramatic.
getting hot.
I flub my line. Keep rolling. Are you sure? Yes.
Oh my god.
Don't cut. Just keep going. and it's nothing that is supposed to happen in the ending happens. The ending of the movie is, like I said, I love every crappy frame of it, except the ending, which is just abominable in every imaginable way.
Yeah.
It's not satisfying. It's stupid. It doesn't have anything to do with the book. And he's got a gun that he shoots Rassilon with, as opposed to having a sword. I mean, in the book,
been much better.
Oh yeah, they're on top of the ramparts fighting each other, and it's a
He's
whole.
ghost busting him right now. That's what's happening.
Well, yeah, and then somehow Rassilon flies into this weird vortex, and Scott Glenn gets sucked in after him, and that's the end of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
It's
end. Woman
it's-
screaming.
Yeah,
That was
wind
the end.
whooshing.
and it freeze frames on it,
Synthesizers.
doesn't it? Yeah,
playing.
And then roll credits.
Yeah.
I was like, time to go to the podcast.
Yeah. So I guess what we have to cover is, Jason, this is sort of the commencement beyond House of Haunted Hill of our Halloween season. So why?
Well, I wanted to do. There's actually a different movie that I was going to suggest, which is a vastly superior movie, starring Roy Scheider.
Oh, Roy Scheider.
And it's a fucking incredible movie that you've never seen. It's got one of the most amazing sequences of where actors are doing acting and almost being killed doing it.
Oh, wow.
And no one's ever heard of it. No one's ever seen this movie. I guarantee you when I say it, it's called Warlock.
Okay.
It has
Warlock with the
with the trucks driving through They're driving through the Amazon.
Oh no, I'm thinking there was a movie called Warlock with the English guy from Arachnophobia. There was also a Warlock I think that he starred in. There's screaming and roll credits.
Wind whooshing, and
Wind
that's
whooshing,
the
hair
end of
whooshing,
the movie.
and that's the end of the movie. But
Bummer.
I'd be interested in that. Because I'll just say I love exploring movies because we look at it from so many different angles. So even
Sorry, real quick. Sorry, it's sorcerer, not warlock.
sorcerer.
You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay,
But
you like exploring movies with us.
I do, because we look at it at different angles. We explore the artistic value, even because of the editing. It wrecked this film.
It
Yeah.
did.
But like the opening sequence, just the way it was shot, it drew me in. The slow motion, the German, like I said, I lived through World War II. You did, so it's a little different. But those German Nazi trucks moving through the town and the people
You remember the gravel crunching underneath the tires?
I remember it all.
It was so dramatic.
Oh, wait, Daddy! Look, Daddy!
Yeah, see, he's alive.
Okay, so he's alive, but he's back to being old and
He's
square
old and
old
feeble,
and
yes.
everything. Yeah. No, but so I was going to suggest Sorcerer, 1977 William Friedkin movie.
Ooh, the Exorcist
Yeah.
guy, William Friedkin.
Fantastic movie, fucking awesome movie. But when we said, oh well, we're going to do the Halloween thing, I said, well, I'll table that. And Sorcerer is the other movie Tangerine Dream did the soundtrack for, and that made me think of The Keep. And I went,
frame.
well, The Keep's got a monster in it. It is
Halloweenish, and
technically a horror movie.
There's so much fog that John Carpenter was like, oh, I know the fog.
I'll do this.
Yeah.
But
So yes, that was the reason.
so then, am I interpreting correctly that we're both a straight 5 because it doesn't sound
Yeah.
like you've seen
Oh, yeah,
this
no,
movie
no, I
before?
haven't seen it
All
before,
right.
yeah,
So Jason, I need you to Alf to Seinfeld this mess.
I mean, it's a 5. It hasn't changed.
It is what it is.
I mean,
It's timeless.
It's weird because having read the book after seeing this a few times, it makes the movie worse because of what it could have been. But
Right,
it also
right.
makes the movie a little bit better because I know what's going on.
You understand it much
So,
Now you guys-
I think that just evens out to a 5.
5. I
And-
like that approach.
As a
That's
kid who
nice.
grew up reading and like made my education in English, I was just like, I've had this going on my entire life where it's like, oh, the movie's never living up to the book. And that I can maybe think less than a handful of times when the movie has even gotten in the neighborhood of being as good as the book. I just gave up on that notion a long time ago
Yeah,
because
it's not gonna happen.
they're different mediums.
They're
There's-
different,
And the power of your imagination, no matter what, is always going to be more powerful than anything that man can just create on a screen. So,
And even a good adaptation of a book, Hunt for Red October, I think is the best example. I
Okay.
love that movie. I also love the book.
I feel
They're not the same thing.
I feel the exact
You know?
same way about
Yeah.
Wonder Boys because the movie and the book are so different, but the
Yeah.
movie really captures the
It stands on
spirit
its
of the
own.
book, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah, it
does
stands
stand
on its own. Yeah.
correct. And the casting was great, and it was fantastic for what it was, even
Yeah.
though it wasn't exactly shot for shot like the book. But
Right.
I would say that Wonder Boys does that.
Yeah, and
for
it
me.
doesn't have to be. It's like you're doing your own thing. And I think that's one reason why a lot of the adaptations suck is because you have an author who's done this really amazing thing and maybe it's handed off to a director who's just not that good.
Yeah,
or a
oddly enough.
screenwriter.
Or a screenwriter that's
Yeah.
not that good. Yeah.
I feel oddly one of the more recent examples of a book and a movie actually reflecting really well on each other is Gilbert Grape. What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Never seen it, never read the book.
Oh, it's a fantastic
I
book,
know.
and it's a great movie too. Like
I've heard that.
it's marvelous. We may have to do it on the podcast. We'll see. But I guess with that, this movie has a perfect score, a 5.55.
Yeah.
Didn't change at all for anybody. So, gang, this has been exciting. Thank you for joining us because Jason's got to hightail it home.
Gotta go.
We appreciate you joining us for the Keep during your drive time, your listening time, your Malisaur time, what monster time in a Keep. We don't care what kind of time. This has been Darth, Adam, and Jason on Hindsight, and good night.